No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Talking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't push it
legend.
up later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
Cycle money.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and in today's video we are going to go over the LCK. I think most people probably agree that the LCK is very top heavy. It's very unlikely that a team outside of the top four wins. So basically what I did is I took the odds from the sportsbook from about a week ago. I checked them. They're roughly the same right now, I think. And I have the percent chance for each team to win. So Hanwha Life, Live Sandbox, Bro, KT, Nongshim, and Kwangdong Freaks all have a less than 5% chance to win the LCK. That's not according to me. That's according to the sportsbook. If you disagree with that opinion, don't yell at me about it. Yell at the sportsbook about it. The top three teams are T1, Damwon Gaming, and Gen G. They represent over 100% chances of winning because the sportsbook is trying to include a rake, which just means the amount of money they charge in order to run the contest or take the bet, or however you want to kind of think about it. DRX is in fourth place. So really, when you're taking a look at the LCK, you kind of just need to ask yourself, do you think a team outside of the top four will be competitive in the LCK playoffs? Meaning, will they make it to like the semifinals or the finals or something like that? So I'm not going to spend too much time on the lower tier teams, but Hanwha Life, after the exodus of talent from their team, there's not much to like. Could they win a couple of games during the regular season? Sure. Do I see them winning games or matches in the playoffs? Most likely not. Not going to spend any more time on them. Sandbox, same thing. I don't know what the rest of their roster looks like. It's not on Leaguepedia. It's probably the same as last split. That's not a roster that I'm interested in. Then we have Fredit Brion. Fredit Brion has some okay players. I like Morgan a decent amount, but I don't think that this team is good enough. And again, we have Lava and Henna. I think both of them were on Hanwha Life before, and weren't very impressive. In my opinion. And yes, I know this is just a quick glance at a lot of these teams, but at the end of the day, they're most likely not going to factor into the playoffs. And this is about team futures, literally team future bets. So KT Rolster, I know there are a lot of people that like KT Rolster. Rascal is an okay top laner. He isn't going to be a player that's easily exploited, so that's a benefit for KT Rolster. Cuz and Gideon, I would assume Cuz plays more as time goes on, but that's an uncertain spot for me. I'm not sure who played more last split, to be honest. I don't really remember. I didn't do any research for this video, but Cuz has more name recognition for me. Once they were out of the playoffs, maybe Gideon started getting more time. Arya and Vikla, I think Vikla may be coming from their academy team or an academy team. I like Arya in general. I think they're a good player. This would be an interesting meta for them because it looks like a lot of the champion pools are getting opened up. So I could see that going well. Aiming is a good player overall. Most people like Aiming as a quality AD carry. And then Life, from a DraftKings perspective, is normally pretty bad for a scoring perspective, but, is league average at best, I guess, for support. And there's just some supports who are much better than him in the LCK. Then we have Nongshim. Nongshim has a roster that I was kind of excited for going into last split. Kana, I think Kana is one of the best top laners in the world. Dread is a good, not great jungler in my opinion, but good enough to be on a playoff team. BDD obviously has been great for a couple of years now, and if you told me at the end of the split BDD was considered a top 4 mid laner in the LCK again, nobody would be surprised. Then we have Ghost. I thought that getting rid of Ghost was a smart move by Damwon Gaming, but Ghost is still an okay player. I think that Beryl was definitely the better player out of the two. But Ghost is good enough in a lot of situations. I'm not sure who's going to be starting at support for them. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. They're not going to be competitive for one of the top spots in the LCK. Then we have Kwangdong. Keen is a top laner that a lot of people like. I'm not sure he's going to be a big enough difference maker overall to break into the top 4 in the LCK. Elim, another XT1 jungler. League average at best probably. Fate, pretty good mid laner. Most people are happy with him. I think that he is not a big enough difference maker. Like if you asked me who would I rather have for this split, BDD or Fate, I'd probably take BDD. Zika versus Fate, I'd probably take Zika. Showmaker obviously, Chovy obviously, and probably Arya. I know Arya didn't show up great last split, but I'd still definitely take them. And then we have DRX. So DRX is a team that I was pretty big on in the beginning of last split. I like them a lot. I think that Kingen is a good top laner, not a great top laner. Piosik and Zika should be very good in this meta. One of the big problems that I had with Zika when he was in the LPL wasn't really about the player itself. It was about how they were used by the team. And this even happened a little bit when Koma was the coach, where they'd be playing for other lanes and Zika would be put onto a champion that their main role is to help others. And, you know, he can definitely play Galio, he can definitely play Lissandra, but he's a better player than that. Like, he has a ceiling that's higher than that and can actually carry games against good teams. I think that Piosik and Zika are set up very well this split. I think that it's tough in the LCK because you still have Faker and Owner. You have Piosik and Zika. You have Canyon Showmaker. You have Peanut and Chovy. Those are all good jungle mid duos, and it'll be you know, that's basically where DRX has to outperform in order to make something happen this split. Deft obviously is still a very good player. Taeyun, I'm not sure how much he's going to play this split, and then Beryl has a very huge champion pool. So when you have Piosik, who can be a true carry jungler, champion Ocean in the mid lane, champion Ocean in support, good enough top laner, I would expect a lot of DRX's drafts to be blind. Well, the way that they should do it, not that I'd expect them to do this, what they should be doing, in my opinion, is getting a lot of champions for all of the other roles and then allowing Piosik to get onto a champion that exploits the enemy draft and focusing on Piosik trying to carry the game overall. I think they have some pretty good flexible players, Piosik, Zika, and Beryl specifically. Those three can definitely play multiple ways, have the aggression that you need in order to create decisive action in a game. So it'll be interesting to see how DRX plays out. They are the team that I would like to bet on. It's tough because in order for them to beat the other three teams that we're about to talk about, it seems super unlikely. It's listed at like 5% on the sports book. But you know, I might be okay doing that, maybe for like $50 or something like that. I'm not going to go overboard. I will not be betting T1 at plus 125. So then it's, do I bet Damwon or Genji at plus 200? I'm probably not going to do that because you're going to get something relatively close in that final matchup. Like if you told me I can bet Damwon Gaming at plus 200 today or Damwon Gaming plus 125 the day of the match, or potentially they're the favorite, I think that's too easy to convince myself of to justify betting on them now. When you get to the finals, DRX is never going to be plus 1800 in the final match. So let's talk about Damwon, Genji, and T1. Nuguri coming back is huge for Damwon Gaming. I know that T1 had a great last split and a strong showing at MSI, but Damwon Gaming with Nuguri, Canyon, Showmaker, Diakdom, Kellen, I think it's tough to make the argument that they shouldn't be the favorite. So the problem is you're only getting, you know, probably plus 100 points of additional value on them. Yeah, not really sure how else to think about that. We can just go position by position. So Zeus against Nuguri. if you told me that Noguri came back and was instantly better than Zeus, I wouldn't be shocked. Would you? I don't think so. Canyon versus Owner. I still think Canyon's better. Faker against Showmaker. I prefer Showmaker. I think that Faker is obviously the best player of all time. No argument here. T1 has the advantage in the bot lane. I think that Keria is definitely better than Kellen, and Gumayusi is definitely better than Deokdam. So I guess, that's why they play the games. We'll have to see how they go about drafting, who they're prioritizing on their team. Gumayusi had some shaky laning performances. I don't really think that's going to happen against most teams in the LCK, but in a spot against a team like Dom1 Gaming, who has shown the ability to put Showmaker on to champions like TF and Galio and roam the map and be impactful in other lanes, I think that Dom1 specifically would do pretty well against T1, especially with Nuguri coming in. I still like the upside of Birdall. I think that he's probably a long-term solution to the top lane for a team in the LCK or maybe even the LPL, but he needs some time to get more experience and get better, which may have to occur on a separate team. But there's a reason why they felt comfortable using him so much last split and even a little bit at Worlds last year. Then we have Gen G, Doran, Peanut, Chovy, Ruler, Lehens. Ruler is one of the best AD carries in the world. Chovy is one of the best mid laners in the world. Peanut is a great jungler, very interesting jungler, has a huge champion pool, and is great at playing the restrictive carry style, which a lot of players just, didn't learn while they were playing League of Legends, 4, 5, 6 years ago. They were a lot of the junglers that ended up going pro were playing the gank heavy junglers instead of, things like Nidalee, which Peanut is still amazing at. Doran is a good top laner. He's not great, in my opinion, but he is definitely good enough to win a championship in the LCK, which means you're probably good enough to win a world championship as well. I just don't think that he will be the difference maker for a championship team in the LCK or in the world finals or at Worlds. And then last but not least, we have T1. So like I said, at plus 125, you're not betting on it. I'm not betting on it. There's no reason to. There will be spots throughout the season where you could bet T1 at like minus 125, minus 150, or maybe even an underdog if they have a couple of losses at some point during the split. Zeus had a great split last split. Would I be shocked if he took a step backwards? No. But T1 is just so good at producing this level of talent. If they went, another split with only 3 or 4 match losses, I think that our opinion of them should all remain roughly the same. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Zeus is going up against other elite top laners in the world. Bin didn't have a great MSI, but Bin against Zeus was a pretty good matchup. I think that Zeus would have more trouble with a player like Breathe, who is RNG's new top laner. Owner, good jungler, performed really well last split. The thing that we need to watch out for T1 is that they had such a good match record going 18-0. I think they went 18-0, right? Where everyone's perception of them is kind of inflated because you didn't see a lot of bad things out of T1 during last split or even at MSI. So there's not a lot of reason for us to think about these worst case scenarios when we haven't seen them in a while. But it's possible, especially when there are these large meta shifts, that teams kind of start falling behind or don't perform to the level they did in the past. Faker, one of the best players of all time, probably still a top 5 mid laner in the world. I think that's, pretty safe to say. Gumayusi is probably a top 5 AD, maybe a little bit lower than top 5. I think that there are some AD carries that play a specific style better than Gumayusi. I don't know what his best style is going to be. And it's tough to say that, only after the less than 2 years that he's been in the pro scene. And then Keria, I think Keria is the best support in the world. And it's because of his playmaking upside and the different types of champions that he plays. I think that it's going to be hard to believe, but this should be a meta that's even better for Keria, where he can play even more unique champions. So I'm looking forward to that. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.